up and make sure everybody's got live streaming and hello everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
Member of my group
Oh,
wrote a
yeah.
check to Jewish Life,
Oh wow.
asked me to give it to you tonight.
Thank you. Hey everybody. Welcome to those that are joining us online who are watching from the screens. Oh, let me put on this thing. Let's see. Here we go. I know there's a lot of people here tonight. Well, look, we have a lot of people. You just don't see them. No, I know. We just have a lot of people and they're online. We're on. They can see you, Joyce.
Okay.
Joyce, here's Joyce.
Okay. I'm saying hello to all my friends and relatives. Welcome.
Did everybody get to hear her?
Yes, hear her fine.
Well, good. Well, that was a special message from Joyce.
Can we hear her in Dallas or
What?
Frisco? You hear her
Yes.
in Frisco, Texas.
Message from Frisco.
Frisco. And again, Frisco is really close to the world champion Rangers.
Hey, you bet.
So that's sick. That's what Mike has to say. Mike has to say that's sick. Well, it was a well-earned victory. That's what I would say. They're the world champions. So, folks, what can I tell you? I'm getting ready to go to Israel. As I just said, it's the least desirable trip I've ever taken to Israel or to any other place.
What's your purpose?
My purpose is to visit my first visit is just to be there to show our support for our brothers and sisters in Israel. And that's my first mission. And then the other mission is to have a chance to bring some funds to those people for the money that we've raised over the last couple of weeks, which is significant. I wish it was even more, but we're still trying to even assess what are the highest priorities of what they're going to spend it on, but it's going directly to the kibbutzim, kibbutz Bay Area, and I'm going to be visiting a few of the other kibbutzim, kibbutz Ofakim. I'll be in the town or the city. It's not a kibbutz of Sderot, which a lot of people have heard of, because that's the place that's oftentimes the place where missiles fall. But in this case, it actually fared better than some of the kibbutzim in the area. And unfortunately now, I have a whole nother mission, which is to let the people of Israel know that now there are American Jews who've been killed here for Israel. So.
And thank you for posting that from JLTV. Nobody else had it.
So.
KGOA, it took 5 seconds of it.
So, well, I'm going to tell you right now. So what Mike just said is he appreciated the fact that we posted the full conference that we had. That was I organized the press conference on behalf of John Oswax, who was the guy who was at the rally, protests, whatever you want to call it, the witness, John. So he was getting inundated with media. I knew him through a friend, and the friend actually is from New York, but John is from Thousand Oaks. And so he was getting inundated. Media was showing up at his house. I said, listen, we'll have a press conference tomorrow. I organized it in about 15, 20 minutes. I called our office, JLTV, had our staff who's good at this kind of stuff, some of them work with me on it. I had to do it. I was on a plane coming back from Arizona. And so I did it literally while I was on the plane. We had organized it and we'd already sent it out. So we got a lot of calls from the media. We had every news organization in the country was there that yesterday. Some of it got bumped off because of the election stuff. yesterday, so it didn't get as much coverage probably as if we had had it the day before. There was a press conference at the sheriff's department in Thousand Oaks. Yeah, we didn't know when we scheduled it that they were going to do it at 10 a.m. Which would have been even better if we had done it before. They had obviously preempted it, a lot of the attention, and they showed a lot of that press conference, which was very important. I mean, it's very important to have the update from the law enforcement perspective. They didn't really say anything though, which we expected because it's all about covering your butt. It's all about not having liability. It's all about saying nothing and at the same time, trying to make people feel safe, which you can't do, but whatever. We already know they screwed up because they didn't have a police presence there in the first place. And their answer was they thought it was going to be a peaceful demonstration. Look, I mean, I don't know what to tell you other than when we had a rally here, I called the sheriff's department ahead of time to alert them and say, look, we're going there peacefully, but I don't know what's going to happen. And sure enough, we had people that came out and didn't physically assault us, but verbally assaulted us. And quite frankly, would have been a physical confrontation if not for some very cool heads on our side who went over and stopped it from happening. It's on video. You can see it. No, but I did talk to them and I told them my wife is English. So, yeah, so I will, everything is out there. I don't want to spend that much time with it, talking about it here because it's all out there and you can see the whole thing. And John Stolman was the one who did the video of that. So John doesn't want to take credit for it, but John, at the last minute, I asked him Tuesday morning when we were in class if he could come. He did. He dropped what he was doing, came with us. Well, he did, Glory, and he did. So he did, and he came and he videotaped the whole thing, which is the video that we have. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had it. And I knew that might be a problem. He also helped me set up we had our own microphone, which in the end we really didn't need. I didn't know what they were going to bring, so we brought a microphone in our sound system to set it up. And so he helped make it all happen. In the end, we didn't need it because every single news organization was there with their microphones and cameras. And so we really stepped in there and it was all there. Which actually was a little bit of a problem because I couldn't set anything up because it was already set up. And they were already interviewing some people who had come by and seen it. And they started, they were people who just wanted to talk. So yeah, so what I originally was going to do is have John speak as a witness. I asked Elon Carr, who's a friend of mine, who some of you have met because I brought him to synagogue here. He ran for Congress and he ran for Congress a few years ago in the seat that was vacated by Henry Waxman. So Ted Lieu is now the congressman. But since that time, Elon has served in the last administration. He served as a special envoy, a State Department position to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. So that was a portfolio that was created a few years ago. I don't know if you know that, but we actually have a Secretary of State, someone who is part of the State Department. They report to the Secretary of State. It's not a cabinet level, obviously, but it's a report to the State Department just on anti-Semitism. So Elon had that job under the Trump administration. And so I had him there. He's now in the capacity of, he's the CEO of the Israeli American Council, the IAC, which is the advocacy group for Israeli Americans. So he was there. He spoke as well. He's also he's served in the armed forces. He was a JAG in Iraq during the war. So he spoke, and then we had Kenny at the end. I asked Kenny to sing El Maleh, and Kenny is actually now in Thousand Oaks, where he's always lived out in Agoura, but Kenny is the cantor for Etz Chaim now, the synagogue that Mr. Kessler attends. So that there was actually a reason to have him there too, beyond just that I like Kenny, that he was there and he sang El Maleh at the end. So it was very powerful to be there at that spot. John saw it with his own eyes too. There's blood still on the pavement. And to know that this is the blood of a Jew who died simply for waving an Israeli flag, this is what we're dealing with right now. Yeah.
Do you know anything more about the suspect who was arrested in the killing of the Detroit?
I haven't heard that. I mean, I've heard that they've arrested the person. I haven't seen anything else. I do want to talk about the suspect here and I want to finish with that because I'm going to tell you something now that nobody knows yet, but you'll know tomorrow, if not by tonight. Unless you read the news all night, which some of you do. But so I was just going to say that so part of what I do now, and I said it yesterday, is that I will be going to Israel to tell people in Israel that American Jews are also, and in this case, in Mr. Kessler's case, died. He, again, this is not a guy who was that religious. He had not gone to protests or demonstrations on behalf of Israel before. John, who he became friends with, they met through these rallies over the last couple of weeks. A lot of these have been informal, impromptu, just people coming out and waving flags on the corner. It's a very busy corner. Westlake Boulevard and Thousand Oaks Boulevard, major intersection in Conejo Valley. Probably, I guess, one of the busiest intersections, if not the busiest. Yeah, it's pretty busy. So people have been out there a lot. And the guy 100% came out that day to just wave his flag and support Israel. He was, interestingly, and John heard this, John, the witness, said, you know, they had very different political views. John is much more conservative politically than Paul was. He said that.
He did.
And so that's the case. Just so you know, these were two Jews, one who was conservative, one who was liberal, who were both there at the event. And, so it was, it was, when I first got called on it, Paul wasn't dead. He had been injured, but he was not dead. And then when we found out later that he was dead, this, as far as I'm concerned, even if it's not intentional, if it's not an intentional homicide, there's definitely assault, and there's definitely, based on what we've already heard and what we know happened, this is at least manslaughter. So
What's the difference?
nothing yet. So we don't know for sure why the person hasn't been arrested, but now that it's been reported, I will tell you, his name has been leaked. It's out there. The police haven't given it. The sheriff's department didn't give it. His name is Loe Alnaji. He's a professor of computer science at Moore Park College. And his name was up as a faculty member yesterday. It's not up today. That doesn't mean he's lost his job. It just means he's been scrubbed off of their site. And I know that for a fact because I looked today and he's not on, and other people did too. He also, so he's the one responsible. He's the one who had the megaphone, and he's the one who hit Mr. Kessler. And he's about 50. I mean, we don't know exactly. I haven't heard exactly that his age is 50, but he's about 50. I don't know if he's married. I don't know if he has kids, but I do know that he was faculty at Moore Park. I also know that one of the other people that was there, and he's a part of the Islamic Center in Moore Park. One of the other people who was there was, and we have pictures of him there, was the head of the mosque. He's not listed as an imam. He's listed as a sheikh, which is not necessarily higher, but it's definitely an honorific title. His name is Omar Jubran. He was there as well. And his son was there as well. And we have photo and video of this, and you're going to probably hear about it tomorrow. His son, Kareem Jubran, is a board of trustee at the Simi Valley School District.
Oh,
Young guy. But he's on the Simi Valley School Board, and he was there. So we know for a fact that the Moore Park professor had posted pro-Hamas messages on his Twitter feed. That's a fact. We have them. I've seen it. So it wasn't a pro-Palestinian. I want to make it clear. It was not a pro-Palestinian message. It wasn't a free Gaza. It wasn't a message about the plight of the Palestinian people. It was a message specifically about Hamas. And that should not be considered a terrorist organization. So I don't know what to tell you other than this man was part of the educational system. Moorpark College is part of the Ventura County Community College District. So it's part of a district that includes other colleges, but he was employed by them. So I'm on record. I don't know if you're going to see it tonight or you're going to see it tomorrow, but I specifically said, and I will repeat it now, what I said, that we, of course, know that our institutions of higher learning, our Ivy League schools, are a problem. But it's also a problem in our local community colleges as well.
Yes.
So if we have two people who are involved in the Ventura County educational system, a board member, board of trustee, and a professor at the community college, we got a problem. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that is something that nobody knows yet. But my guess is that by tomorrow, this will be out, because there are a lot of places that have now leaked the name of the suspect. He's still a suspect, though we have videotape of him. And so when I tell you, and when I said to the New York Post that this is what happened, I saw the video. Okay. So I saw the photos. You saw the photos.
Video of the assault?
No, there's no video of the actual punch, but there's a video of them coming over to where where he was. So yes, we do not have the exact, I want to make it clear, we don't have a video of the exact moment that he got hit in the face. There is not a video or a photo of that. According to, well, there might be, but we don't have it. Yes, we haven't seen it. And they are, I know they were asking for video footage, but I don't think anybody who has that video footage is going to give that video footage, my guess. They are searching, and they did a search of the guy's home, and I don't know if people will have expunged this video evidence of it, but my guess is somebody has videotape, has a photo on their phone or a video of their phone of that actual punch being thrown. But they know for a fact, and it's already being investigated as a homicide. So the law enforcement has already said it's being investigated as a homicide and possibly a hate crime. But they haven't gone further than that as of at least an hour ago. So I don't, if something changed in the last hour, I don't know. But as of an hour ago. So that's where we're at. And as I said, I'm not, you know some things that other people haven't known. Nothing that I've told you is against the law for you to know. I haven't violated anyone's rights, because everything that I've told you now has at least partially is partially known, and anybody can find out about these people that are involved with the Ventura educational system. And my guess is that, it'll be reported in the media tomorrow, if not tonight. His name, I'll show you. His name is Loe.
I spent a lot of time.
Spell it.
Loe, Loay. Here, I'll show you. I'll show everybody. Somebody, actually, I'll show you. Well, I don't want to give this garbage any more publicity, but
Well, my neighbor.
Loe El Naji. Yeah.
Okay.
Loe El Naji. It's right here. I told you. Oh, guess what? Yeah. So I spoke to him. I don't know if I'm quoted yet, but I don't care. I'll show people. So here's the ALNAJI.
AL.
It's right here. And he is 50.
Amachi.
I don't know. Yeah, there's a picture now. There's a picture now. I haven't read this article yet. I haven't read. He doesn't take care of himself. What do you care? I look older than my age now too. I look younger, but anyways. So I haven't read this article yet, folks. This is the first time I'm seeing it too.
My neighbor teaches history at Moorpark.
Okay, well, she works
I'm
with,
gonna ask her if she knows.
she works with a killer then. What do you want me to tell you? So no, I probably they didn't quote me yet because, yeah. On his Facebook pages, oh Allah, release the captivity of Al-Aqsa Mosque sooner than later. Yeah, well, that's normal stuff. There's the picture of him. That's been around for a while already. Okay. So there's nothing new in this. Oh yeah. So here he has this. He posted a video of Shahid King Bolson comparing terror group Hamas to civil rights leaders. If someone asked me to condemn Hamas, I would say, what's the rush? Let history decide. You condemn Nelson Mandela until you didn't. And he's a hero. You condemn Mahatma Gandhi until you didn't. Let's wait and see, because you might change your mind on this one too. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. They spoke to the rabbi of his synagogue. That's the rabbi of Etz Chaim. He was not a rabble rouser and someone who would get into people's faces. Yeah, well,
You know, the Hamas came out with a statement today, so let's just set everybody straight. It was reported on national news.
Okay.
They have only one down. Only one.
so that is,
My guess was that there's not gonna be a two-state.
I don't see how it's going to be. But how do you have a two-state solution if there's no partner who to have peace with? We can't walk around saying we want to have peace. There has to be somebody we're having peace with. So there's nobody to have peace with. That's what I tell people. It's not that we don't want to have peace. It's who do you have peace with? So anyways, so folks, that's the story. That's, but again, they have now released that he's was a professor at Moorpark.
See him in the background, just sitting on the thing.
Well, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, but well, I don't know what to tell you, folks. He didn't go anywhere, but
The guy's 50, looks like he's 70.
all right, John. I hear you. So
Especially with other things.
What was that? Tell me what I was supposed to do to make it softer for you.
so
Tell me what I was supposed to
so we're getting off topic, but the bottom line is that this happened in our community. What can I tell you? Certain things happen, and when they happen in your community, you just go, it's not someone else's community, it's happened in ours. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That happened. It's now part of our history. So with that, any questions, any comments? Anybody have any other thoughts about the world that we live in right now? I don't, look, I can't tell you other than I said it last night, and I don't know that anybody yesterday afternoon, I don't know if anybody reported it. Probably not, because it wasn't scary, and it didn't get anybody's attention. But I said, look, we can't stop showing up at protest rallies and stuff because we're worried that somebody's going to get hurt. Because I've had a few people tell me, they're afraid to go now. I said, you can't. You just have to go with a lot of people. Instead of going with 2 people, go with 20 people, go with 100 people. And there's a huge rally on November 14th in Washington, D.C., and we're trying to get everybody to go. If I was here, I would go. I even thought about coming back from Israel. Elon Carr is going to be there, and he asked me, he said, is there any way for you to change your flight? The problem is, if I change my flight, I'm there for 48 hours in Israel, and I can't be there for 48 hours. It doesn't make any sense then. So I can't go, but I would have gone, and I wouldn't have gone to Israel at this time if I had known that this rally was going on. When I planned it, it wasn't going on. So it's November 14th in DC. We're hoping for 500,000 to 1 million supporters of Israel. There were 300,000 Palestinian protesters who showed up last week, so we better have a whole lot more. That's all I can say.
I was gonna say, because they stormed the White House.
Yeah. So
Capitol
we better have people there, folks.
needs some security.
Yeah. Well, you know where they won't have to have security? at the Jewish protest. Because I can tell you that's one protest where they're probably going to be asking, where are we having lunch? Look at John. Where's the nearest deli? Where's Brent's? No, we'll protest peacefully. That's what we'll do. That's one protest I can tell you where you're not going to see people going crazy. It's probably the only protest ever where there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people, and I'd be very surprised if there are any arrests. But anyways, at least not on behalf of the Jews that are coming out. So yeah, go to the protests, go, we have to show our solidarity. We can't hide. And that's my take. Yeah.
Protect yourself, don't wear anything that says.
I disagree with the message of Israel. Israel was 100% wrong in saying that, because there are, look, I don't want to say 100% wrong. In certain countries, that's a wrong, it's dangerous. If I lived in France, I wouldn't do it. If I lived in certain parts of England, I wouldn't do it. Honestly, we have a niece and nephew that are both studying in Birmingham right now. Tracy's sister's kids are studying there in Birmingham right now. It's a scary place to be. Birmingham, England is a scary place. Los Angeles is not a scary place. This being said, this is not a scary place. So I say, no, don't put away your Jewish stars or your mezuzahs. But Israel, had a blanket statement that came out for Jews around the world. Not everyone lives with the kind of security that we have. But I'm not saying that because I'm asking people to risk themselves. There's things that I would do that I wouldn't ask you to do, like go to Israel next, in the next few days. But I wouldn't tell anybody to wear a Jewish star unless I thought it was safe. And it's, at least at this stage, we're not at a point where it's not safe to wear a Jewish star. So that's my take, at least for America.
I am careful when I leave here at night at 5:30.
You definitely should be, and especially now, Joyce, that it's dark.
I know,
So,
and I am careful.
but we have cameras on you, Joyce. Right, John?
Yes.
When you took her last week, what happened?
Texted me.
Yeah.
See you.
So wherever you are, I'm watching Joyce. When you're there.
Watch me get hard.
I would have called somebody. I would have called Mike. Mike would have. Mike,
But I do have people.
what?
Good.
Yeah, you better watch what you're doing. Well, there's only a camera here and a camera there. So there's not a camera in a bathroom or something. There's no camera. If you're doing anything in the sanctuary, you shouldn't be doing. I don't even want to know. But I don't want to know, Mike.
No, but I'm careful at the gate and the door.
Yeah.
And when I go to
Yeah.
my car.
But
I have people with me.
there's cameras everywhere out there.
I have people with
There's 8 cameras there too, by the way. There's 8 cameras outside, Joyce. There's only 2 cameras inside, but there's 8 outside.
Okay, good.
So yeah, but yeah, be careful.
I am.
Car follows me like where I'm going to park my house. I just keep going.
Yeah, that's smart to do anytime, right?
That's exactly, I've always done that.
So I want to thank everybody who donated for Israel aid. A lot of people donated, and it even came through at the last minute tonight.
Can you let us know how much?
I will. Yeah, I will. And oh my gosh, people really do wait till the last minute. I'm just looking, I'm looking at it right now. So I will let you know. And yeah, but I really didn't think I was going to be going there to tell people. I've seen the blood of people here in America
You know
now.
what they showed on KTLA?
What?
You pointing down to where Mr. Kester was killed.
Yeah, well, that was, I told John, I told him today. I was still emotional about it today.
5 seconds.
Yeah, well, I know a little bit about the media, and I know that you have to give them a soundbite,
Yeah.
And a visual.
and that was a soundbite.
I saw more Palestinian supporters protesting over the blood. They were
What?
standing where the blood is on the sidewalk. There were more the next day.
Oh, I
You
didn't.
see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Palestinian flag and they're right over the blood.
That,
On the sidewalk.
that I didn't see. Anyways, so it was a busy couple of days. That's all I can tell you. And
More loss.
so we'll see what happens, folks. We'll see what happens with our country, and we'll see what happens around the world. But somebody said, "Why are you going to Israel?" I said, I'm going to free the hostages and the war. I will say one more thing, though. I don't want you to think about this. I really do think Israel just needs to keep telling people there is no talk of any ceasefire. There's no talk about anything until the hostages are free. Just keep saying the hostages need to be free. How is this 32 days later that there's people still being held hostage and people have forgotten? There's kids right now that are sitting in a dungeon right now, and the world is asking Israel to stop. So, yeah. So I'm saying right now, that's all Israel should be saying. And we have to rescue our hostages. That's all we're doing. We're on a hostage rescue mission. And that's what it should be.
Friends about it. And I guess from the sources he's reading, they're saying that it's pretty much going to be a win for Israel because they're sweeping through Gaza. The U.S. fleet is doing enough of a deterrence, and all the BRICS nations are trying to do it diplomatically through the UN, and no one's taking it seriously.
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah, I was wondering how.
No, that's
I've heard a lot of people, mostly from just group discussions that are mostly Europeans, that are just trying really hard to fence it and are like, "Oh, I only care about civilians." I'm like, okay, well, one of them uses them for target practice if they're not bullet sponges, and the other one are sure maybe unfortunately hitting some in the crossfire, but they're trying to get them out. But it's looking like one side's going to win it.
Well, look again. The issue is whether they're going to actually try to draw Israel into a continuous war situation, which is the fear.
There's a headline.
Yeah.
Qatar working on a deal to free 12 hostages.
Yeah.
They're on us.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Qatar. Some people pronounce it in the more Islamic way of Qatar, but it doesn't matter. However you want to pronounce it, they are really bad people. Yeah.
So yes, they can't use their own. The
Yes.
Hamas snipers were just shown sniping civilians because they were trying to go north to get out of the firing
They
range.
were
Yeah,
killing
they
their-
killed their own people. Yep,
Yeah,
they killed their own.
more stay Israel's escorting themselves.
All right, we are going to remind people of where we were 2 weeks ago. So again, last week's, the missing of last week's, we will be here, by the way, in person, God willing. It's hard to believe. I'll be back in time by next week to have class here.
Stay?
Yeah,
Oh, my God.
You gotta sleep sometime.
yeah, but I'm supposed to be here. I'll be home at 6 o'clock.
In the morning.
Yeah.
Well, you fly in at 6.
I land at 6. I already have stuff to do that day. Don't worry. So we'll be here next week, but somehow, yes, between now and then, Wednesday, Tuesday, we might have class remotely, but I realize it's going to be hard. Correct. But my flight is 1 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, but that's really like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday, our time that I'm leaving. And class wouldn't finish until 11. So it's going to be hard for me to get to the airport.
I'm assuming you have carry-on.
I'm going to have a backpack probably. Yeah. But I asked people, by the way, if I could bring stuff because I don't need my bag allowance. But I know, but I didn't, nobody.
They allow them to carry factories.
I know. I'm not bringing what they brought. Okay. I'm not going to tell you what they brought, but no, I mean, it's not anything bad. I mean, I don't need to bring tefillin to people in Israel. You understand? I mean, it's not that I don't think they should wear tefillin, but that's not what I'm doing. Anyways, I want to get off topic, but I do have room that I could take if there's stuff I need. So 2 weeks ago, we had a chance to read chapter 26, which is Kitavo. It's the beginning of this chapter the beginning of this new section of Deuteronomy, the last section, which doesn't really have very many laws, but is now getting into kind of the way that Moses is saying goodbye to the people. So he told them about this ritual they're supposed to do, essentially a Thanksgiving ritual. It's a ritual that we also, as we mentioned, use at our holiday of Passover, a way of saying thank you for the harvest. And now, as we go into chapter 27, which is still part of Kitavo, We're actually reading now today, chapters 27 and 28, which deal with what we call the blessings and curses. This is another ritual that the Israelites are going to do when they come in to the promised land. But this is like a one-time thing. This is not a thing that they're going to do every time they have a harvest, which is what they do in chapter 26. Whenever they have the harvest, they would do the offering and say, this is, this is the offering. And then, of course, telling the story of how my ancestor was a wandering Aramean. This time, this is a very interesting ritual that we're about to read for the people when they come into the land. So this is what we're going to do today. And then depending on where we are for next week, we'll set up the last kinds of chapters, which are, again, Moses's really farewell. So the beginning of Deuteronomy is kind of a recap of how they got to where they are. Then the next part of Deuteronomy are the laws that we have, this kind of code of laws that goes from Parshat Re'eh, from about chapter 12 all the way to chapter 25, to Ki Tetzeh. And then now we're getting Ki Tavo, which is part of these 33. So we're almost done. And these last sections are very different as far as their what they do to the previous one. So here's how it begins. Vayatzav Moshe, it says, and Moses and the elders charged the people, saying, observe all the instruction I enjoin upon you this day. Now, what's interesting about this is it doesn't just say Moses charged the people. It says the elders of Israel charged the people. So we're starting to see maybe now that Moses is turning over some responsibility to other people. And this is significant because Moses is actually not going to be able to do this ritual. Let's watch. And of course, though, the very famous phrase that we have over and over again in the book of Deuteronomy, Hayom, this day. And the word mitzvah over and over again, when I command you this day. As soon as you've crossed the Jordan into the land that your God Adonai has given you, you shall set up large stones, coat them in plaster. Well, that tells you right away, Moses is not going to be there for this, because this is only after you've crossed the Jordan. He won't be doing that. So this is something that he can't do with them. So set up stones, coat them in plaster, which means stones are not going to be movable, because once they're coated in plaster, they're not moving. And inscribe upon them all the words of this teaching. When you cross over to enter the land that your God Adonai has given you, a land flowing with milk and honey, as Adonai, the God of your ancestors, promised you, upon crossing the Jordan, you shall set up these stones about which I charge you this day on Mount Ebal and coat them with plaster. So he's saying over and over again, by the way, coat them with plaster, right? Yes.
Words of the teaching that this whole book of Deuteronomy.
Well, that's interesting, right? Is he talking about Deuteronomy? Is he talking about everything that we've read up until now? Is he talking about maybe the 10 Commandments, which were repeated in, but it's a little unclear, right? So the word teaching right here is the translation of Et Kol Divrei HaTorah. HaTorah. Now, it couldn't be the whole Torah, because that would take up a lot of stones, a lot of plaster. Yeah, but it might not even, maybe it's not, maybe it's only part of Ki Tavo. Because let's look at this. There too you shall build an altar to your God Adonai, an altar of stones. Do not wield an iron tool over them, which we've heard before about altars. You must build the altar of your God Adonai of unhewn stones. You shall offer on it burnt offerings to your God Adonai. So this is not the writing stones. These are actually an altar stones. And you shall sacrifice their offers of well-being and eat them, rejoicing before your God Adonai. And then it says, on those stones you shall inscribe every word of this teaching, most distinctive. So again, are these the stones that you just offered up stuff on? Or is this separate one? Because it does seem to say that it's a separate altar. There she built an altar of stones. And then when it goes back to these stones, you shall inscribe every word of this teaching most distinctly. So it seems as though there's an altar of stones and there's also that. Now look, there's probably even one of the commentaries on this. No, that's very interesting that Rashi's, but he's quoting the Talmud, which is that you didn't just write them, you also translated them into 70 languages. That's a lot of stones too. So Moses and the Levitical priests, it says Kohanim, HaLeviim, right? That's why they translate it as Levitical priests, spoke to all Israel, saying, and again, this is not the elders, this is now the priests that say, silence, right? Listen, silence, listen, Shema. It says Sheket, right? Or Seket in this case. Ushma, here, Ushma Yisrael. Shema Yisrael. Hear Israel, Shema Yisrael. Hayom, this day. All those words together. Today you have become the people of your God Adonai. Heed, and again, Shema, heed, listen to your God, and observe the divine commandments and laws which I enjoin upon you this day. These commandments, right? Again, thereupon Moses charged the people, saying, after you've crossed the Jordan, the following shall stand on Mount Gerizim, with the blessing for the people is spoken. Shimon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Joseph, and Benjamin. So when you cross over, 6 of the tribes will stand on Mount Gerizim. And for the curse, the following shall stand on Mount Ebal: Reuben, Gad, Asher, Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali. Now, we're not exactly sure why this is split the way they are. There's lots of commentary on why this is happening, but we haven't heard the blessing and curse yet. We've actually only heard that the tribes are going to split up, and there's 2 mountains, one Mount Gerizim and one is Mount Ebal, and there'll be a blessing on Mount Gerizim and there'll be a curse on Mount Ebal. That's all we've heard. Now we're about to hear the curse and the blessing and the curse, but we haven't heard it yet. So they've already told us you're going to hear a blessing and a curse. This is a very strange ritual, and it's a ritual that's going to happen one time. We're going to get to it, trust me. But the way they built it up already is by telling you that everybody is going to get split up on 2 mountains. Everybody, not just like, the tribes are going to split up in half. Half the Israelites on one side and half the Israelites on another side. And that's a pretty dramatic thing to imagine. The Levites shall then proclaim in a loud voice to all the people of Israel. Now, you think that this is the blessings and curses. Because it starts with the word curse, but hold off. Just listen. Cursed be any party who makes a sculptured or molten image, abhorred by Adonai, a craftsman's handiwork, and sets it up in secret. And all the people shall respond, Amen. Right? And Amen means truth. And that's the word in Hebrew, and it's the word we use in English. It comes from the word emet, means truth. True. We're supposed to say Amen. So what we've heard so far, or what is the setup for this, but look at what happens. It seems as though these are like another version, if you will, or a public proclamation of laws that, at least the first commandment, sounds a lot like the first of the 10 commandments. Cursed be the one who insults father or mother, and all the people shall say Amen. Now that's a little bit different than the 5th commandment, which is honor your father and mother. This is in the negative form, but it's very similar to that law. Very similar. Honoring the parents. So not making idols, now honoring your parents. Cursed be the one who moves a neighbor's landmark, and all the people shall say Amen. Well, that one we really don't have in the 10 commandments, but it is kind of an understanding that we have in the Torah, which is your borders, your property lines are very important. Cursed be the one who misdirects a blind person who is underway, and all the people shall say Amen. I know that's a weird translation. It's probably not the translation. Well, Mary, what does your translation say? Yeah, that's a little bit of better translation. What about yours, Glory?
Cursed is the man who leads the blind astray on the road.
Yeah, it's also a better translation. The word derech means way, path. So somebody who's being directed in the wrong way, that's kind of what they're talking about, leading somebody down the wrong path. It says a blind person, but of course you can expand that to be people who don't know any better, right? But that's not in the Ten Commandments, but there is a version of that in the book of Leviticus that talks about not placing stumbling blocks in the path of the blind. This is a little bit different, but similar. Cursed be the one who subverts the rights of the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. And all the people say, Amen. Well, that's a phrase that we have throughout the book of Deuteronomy, the ger, yatom, v'almanah, the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. So that's throughout the book of Deuteronomy, but it's not really in the Ten Commandments, but it's a much broader understanding of that too. But it is throughout the book of Deuteronomy, that concept of not taking advantage of the most vulnerable. Cursed be the man who lies with his father's wife, for he has removed his father's garment. And all the people say, Amen. Well, that's a law against sexual, relationships that you're not supposed to have. But again, the translation here pretty much again says, something we just read a few chapters ago about uncovering the nakedness of your father. We talked about that.
His mother?
Or his stepmother. It's not just his mother, it's also his stepmother. It's a wife of his father. So that would be Leviticus too. That's right. Correct. So that could be not just, well, we say stepmom because we assume that they were married at a different time than the other mom, but yeah, you'd still essentially be called a stepmom. I don't know. Philip, you're a family lawyer. What would you call if someone who was a polygamist? What would they call their mom? What would they call their mom who was not their mom? Their sister wife mom. What do they call her? What do they call her? You don't know? I guess, right? Yeah, it's a weird one, but yeah, I guess they'd be still stepmom. So yes, that is your father's wife who may not be your mom. Cursed be the one who lies with any beast, and all the people shall say Amen. Well, that's also in the book of Leviticus. Interestingly, again, the things that are not here that we read in Leviticus, especially the laws of homosexuality, which are not here. Here's I skipped over the other sexual ones. Cursed be the man who lies with his sister, whether the daughter of his father or his mother, and all the people shall say Amen. So that's a full sister or a half sister. Cursed be the man who lies with his mother-in-law. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Yeah, no, but that's, yeah. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And I guess they did, Philip. They didn't put it there by accident. They put it there. They put it there because they knew that one day people would have Maury Povich and Jerry Springer. So they definitely need it. And all the people shall say Amen. Cursed be the one who strikes down a fellow Israelite in secret. And all the people shall say Amen. Well, yeah, you don't want to do it anywhere, but again, the idea that someone would do it secretly and try to get away with it, so some of these are in the Bible as exactly almost the way they are, but a lot of them are not. So it's interesting that we have a lot of laws in Deuteronomy and in Exodus and earlier places. We said even in Leviticus, but these aren't exactly the way they are. And of course, every one of them is phrased as a curse. Cursed be the one who accepts a bribe in the case of the murder of an innocent person. That's not exactly in there, but it's pretty much in the Ten Commandments alluded to about not bearing false witness. And all the people shall say Amen. Let me just see if the note here. Yeah. And to acquit someone. Cursed be whoever, the man, who will not uphold the terms of this teaching and observe them. And all the people shall say Amen. Now, that seems to be at least curses. We haven't had any blessings yet. Well, that's because we really haven't gotten to the blessing and curses. So it's kind of confusing, and we're not exactly sure why Deuteronomy is laid out this way, but we do have two things that are kind of going on here, which is we have a covenanting of laws, or again, this teaching, which might have been the teaching, this teaching might have been on there, on the stones. This might be what was on the stones. This text right here. Now, why do we think that? Well, because these kinds of things were written about this length. These were oftentimes covenantal laws that were written out or put on a stone or carved into a piece of, a stela, a rock, piece of rock. But this kind of thing would happen. That was what the people would do as a covenant. And they put it on their borders. They put it on the border of their kingdom so that people knew when they came into the kingdom, these are the rules that are in this kingdom. These are the rules. When you come into this country, you abide by these rules. So it seems as though that's one of the things that they did. It's confusing because it's put in the form of a curse, and he just talked about the blessings and curses. Don't worry. That's coming. But this code seems to be the code that was put on there. This, what we just read, which means that maybe it wasn't the whole book of Deuteronomy. Maybe it wasn't the 10 Commandments. It doesn't really make sense. It would be the whole Torah, but maybe what we just read. That's the kind of thing that would be there. So now we're going to get into the blessings and the curses. So again, those were curses, but they were more like laws, and they were more set up as a covenantal code. This next part, though, is a little bit different. Now, if you obey God to observe faithfully all the divine commandments which I enjoin upon you this day, very Deuteronomy language, your God Adonai will set you high above all the nations of the earth. All these blessings shall come upon you and take effect if you will but heed the word of your God Adonai. That is the introduction to the blessings. So the good news is the blessings come first. And the idea is, if you follow the commandments that we've given you, then the good things will happen. And here are the good things that happen. So again, it's confusing because the law was kind of given as a curse, but you can understand kind of why it's a curse. Because if you're reading it and no one's teaching it to you, it's kind of one of those things where, like, you open the tomb and it says, don't open this tomb because otherwise you're going to be cursed if you open this tomb. So people coming into the kingdom, if they see this, and there's no one there to tell them the rules, but the rules tell them you're cursed if you break these rules. So it's not exactly like a positive way of giving the commandments, but it's also a warning, telling people don't break these rules when you come in here. These blessings and curses, though, are different because it's basically saying if you follow the rules, this is what's going to happen. And the first says, Baruch atah, right? Blessed are you. And mostly they don't begin Baruch atah, but this is a really pretty blessing just by itself. Baruch atah ba'ir, Baruch atah b'sadeh. May you be blessed in the city, may you be blessed in the country. Yeah, it's a nice way of saying when you're in the city or when you're out in the country, you should also be blessed. So that's the way it starts. Now, these other things are being blessed. Blessed shall be your issue from the womb, your produce from the soil, and the offspring of your cattle, the calving of your herd, and the lambing of your flock. And that is all the things that you produce, they should be blessed. Blessed should be your basket and your kneading bowl. So both when you pick stuff and when you make stuff. Baruch atah bevoecha, Baruch atah b'tzeitecha. And that, my friends, is a blessing that is on Jewish homes for thousands of years. If you buy something called a house blessing, it has that line from Deuteronomy. I'll show you. But if you want to buy a house blessing, you can buy one. It will look something like this. So, well, there's a lot of versions of it. Let me show you one that where you could see it. Because we've shared these with people many times. Well, no, it doesn't usually go on the mezuzah, but it's just a line that people put up. Let me show you one. This one's kind of nice. Some people get it as a wall hang. Yeah, I just made it disappear. Here it is. Oh, here it is. Oh, why can't I get it in the middle? This is a nice one.
Rabbi, have you been to one of the interviews with everything going on was saying that one of the gentlemen from your yesterday down in the Thousand Oaks area was saying that a lot of his friends are removing their diseases.
Yeah, I just said that. Don't do that.
Oh, sorry.
No, you were on the phone. I said, don't do that. I don't think you should. That's not good. Well, here's one right here. Baruch atah bevoecha, baruch atah b'tzeitecha. It's a nice thing to put on in the, when you come in. This is people will get these in their house. It's a nice it's a nice blessing. I'll show you something else. So I'll show you. Let me put it here so you can see it. When you go into a city in Israel, you'll actually see this. When you enter a city, it's a sign on both sides. So it'll say, I can't find the street sign. One second, let me just try it here. Yeah, it's let me see. No, I'm gonna show you when you actually go through, like, when it's like at the roundabout when you enter a city in Israel, it will say where's like the one in the one I always see is the one in when we go to Bet Shan, they have it. It's a big sign there. Can't believe street sign. Let's see. It's only showing the other stuff. Hold on a second. So in Israel, when you come into a city, the signs will say Baruch atah bevoecha, and then when you come back out on that same way, the flip side of the sign says Baruch atah b'tzeitecha. Blessed are you when you leave. So so the sign will say both, just on that way into town, it'll say that. And unfortunately, I can't find the actual signs, but I would have thought that I would have been able to find the sign that when you come in. I can't, but I will show you this sign that it came up when I showed. This is a sign that you see when you. This is a sign that you get when you go into places in Israel that you're not supposed to go into. So this road leads to Area A under Palestinian Authority. The entrance for Israeli citizens is forbidden, dangerous to your lives, and is against the Israeli law. So this is in every area where Israelis are not supposed to go because they're under Palestinian Authority. That's the sign. That's the exact opposite of a blessed are you when you enter sign. That's the sign that it says, for example, when you go into Jericho. Yeah. So that's the actual sign. So what Palestinians don't want you to know is that the only people that aren't allowed to go to Palestinian cities are Jews. So when they talk about Palestine being free, it's free of Jews. That's the sign. It's very clear. It's in Hebrew and in English. You're not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to enter. I mean, no, we're not allowed to go in there. I'm going to make it clear. There's no sign for a Palestinian in Zone A that's going to Israel for them to say, you're not allowed to come here. It's against the law. So. There you go, my friends. But I did want to show you the good blessing, which is, blessed are you when you enter. Anyways, it's a good thing to have over your house. We have it in our house and kind of gives us a message of and people use it who aren't just Jewish, by the way. I mean, I know that Christians will occasionally have that line because if they want to have a biblical line, it's from the Bible, right? And so you can use that, and I've seen Christians do it too. So it's not just a Jewish thing. So, anyways, let's go back to chapter 28. Baruch atah b'voecha, Baruch atah b'tzeitecha, which again you can share with people who, when they come into your house or when they leave. So that's another Baruch atah. So. Here's part of the blessings. Interesting right here. Adonai will put to rout before your army the enemies who attack you. They will march out against you by a single road, but flee from you by many roads, which means they're going to be in complete disarray when they're running away from you. They came in as a big army, but they leave, they're escaping, right? Adonai will ordain blessings for you upon your barns and upon your undertakings. You will be blessed in the land that your God Adonai is giving you. Adonai will establish you as God's holy people, as was sworn to you, if you keep the commandments of your God Adonai and walk in God's ways, right? And that is, again, to walk, halachta bidrachav, to walk in God's ways, in his ways. So that's why we call Jewish law, we call Jewish ways, halacha. That's where the word comes from, to walk in the way. That's the word we use for walk, halach, right? Holech is to walk. That's what we call halacha, Jewish ways. And it's the derech, it's the path, it's God's path. Derachav means his path, but it's to walk in the path, which is an interesting idea because Jewish law then is a direction. It's not, a law, so to speak, or a rule, but it's a way. It's a way of being. It's a way of moving. It's a direction. It's not, we don't do everything necessarily all at once. We do a little bit as we go through our daily lives. So it's a nice image, and it's one that the Torah teaches us by the word that's used for law.
And even when we rally in God's way and not in evil way.
Yeah. Wherever we go, wherever we walk, we're walking hopefully in God's ways.
Yeah.
So walk that walk, right?
That's
We
what
say that.
damage things.
That's true. That's why we're not going to be, again, our path is a path of life. And that's the term halacha. And it's also a derech, it's a path, right? So you walk on the path. All the peoples of the earth shall see that Adonai's name is proclaimed over you, and they shall stand in fear of you. Adonai will give you abounding prosperity in your issue from the womb, and the offspring of your cattle, the produce of your soil, in the land that Adonai swore to your fathers to assign to you. Adonai will open for you that bounteous store, the heavens, to provide rain for your land in season and to bless your undertakings. You will be a creditor to many nations, but a debtor to none. That is a wonderful idea for
This country.
Israel to have, for our country to have, for you to have in your own life, not to be a creditor, not to be a debtor. I mean, to have again a situation where your balance is one of credit, right? And that's what Israel has tried to do, especially in the last few decades, to be a country that wasn't in debt. Now, a lot of people say, yeah, but Israel's being subsidized by the United States to a tune of billions of dollars a year, which, by the way, as you and I know, if you're paying attention at all, is actually a drop in the bucket when we talk about how much money we're going through right now. So I used to think, Israel getting $3 billion a year from the United States was this tremendous amount of money. It's really ridiculous now. It's really, really ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous, because what's also always left out of that equation is that of that $3.8 billion that Israel's getting, about $3.5 billion of it has to be spent here in the United States. So what it really is it's a subsidy for Israel to buy weapons and systems from the United States. So what that does is it provides jobs for people in Texas and Ohio and pretty much everywhere outside of California that's now involved in defense industry, because we used to have a defense industry. Now we don't. Many people in this state came to this state because they had jobs after World War II in the defense industry. Those were all gone. They're gone. But Israel spends billions of dollars of our taxpayer money in our country. So understand, it's a shopping spree given to Israel to only buy American products. Israel is allowed to spend a fraction of that money on their own defense industry, which they have a good defense industry. It's not like they don't, but they're happy to buy American weapons. It's not like they're saying they don't want to, but they're also bound by those rules to spend it here. So when people tell you we're subsidizing Israel, why are we subsidizing Israel? Why is this? It's a little bit more complicated than that. And trust me when I tell you that the American contractors and the American workers who are working on those systems, like the Iron Dome and everything else, they don't want to see Israel lose that subsidy. If Israel ever gets into a situation where they have to build their own weapons and their own systems, I'm sure Israel will do it. I'll probably figure out a way to do it, but yes. Yeah. Yeah, they're not as high as they used to be. They used to be ridiculously high compared to the United States. They're still higher, but they're, as some Israelis have told me, that the reality is when you factor in healthcare, when you factor in education, which they get both, that it doesn't really turn out that their tax rate is that much worse. 100%. And they have a good socialized medicine system. That's the one difference. A lot of countries have not great socialized medicine. Israel really does have a good socialized medicine. And they also have free college education. There's no fee for a college education in Israel. So those two things, education and medicine, which are huge costs for us, they're not a cost for them. So that also is part of what they would argue is offset by. But look, Israelis have become used to taxes that were higher, and some people are upset with the fact that Israel's safety net is not what it used to be, because people used to feel like there was better subsidies for, I don't want to get into it, but there used to be a feeling that Israel took better care of people who didn't work as hard, and Israel moved away from that kind of system. So, Israel's tried to keep the best out of some forms of socialized government. So, healthcare and education they've kept, but a lot of other things they've gotten rid of. So Israel's much more of a capitalist country than it used to be.
One more question.
Yeah. salaries are not great there, but and that's probably, an issue that Israelis are most concerned with, is that, the affordability of life there is tough, especially in Tel Aviv, where so many people live. The housing costs are higher than they should be based on their salary. So they do have a housing crisis to some extent, but it's also the case that people can't afford housing. It's just a question of if they want to live in that area. So Israel definitely has a much better economic picture. You look at the rankings of Israel versus other countries now when it comes to the economy, and Israel has one of the highest developed, highest rate, ranked. I'll just show you the Israel economic ranking where it is today versus other countries, since you asked, and it's a fair question. I'll show you just a simple
They're probably ahead of the US in education.
in some ways, in recent years, Israel has had the highest GDP growth rates within developed world, along with Ireland. The Economist ranked Israel as the fourth most successful economy among developed countries for 2022.
Wow.
The IMF estimated Israel's GDP at 564 billion, and its GDP per capita at 58, little over 58,000 in 2023, a figure comparable to other highly developed countries. Where does it put Israel? 13th in the world, right?
This is why I asked that.
No, it's a good question.
A gentleman, my heritage from Israel, he called me.
Yeah,
And we were talking about, my heritage.
yeah.
And I was talking a little bit about, salary, things of that sort.
Yeah, I was just going to show you, if you look at the worldwide,
My heritage was really-
Where
Yeah.
are we on education?
As far as most standards education, in the top 10%.
We're dropping by the month.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at GDP growth, it's high, it's very high. So yeah.
Techniques and methods and things like that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what Israel's ranking at 52. I'm just wondering again. I wanted you to see on a chart. I just want you to see on a chart.
No, they're-
Um,
learning different techniques.
I know.
So to answer the question again that Mike asked, Israel's value would put it right about, I'm going down, here it is right here. So here's Israel. Yeah, but this is not, I would say this is not your, looking at GDP is growth is kind of stupid, because some of the countries with the highest GDP, you never want to,
Yeah.
you never want to do business with. I mean, there are countries that you would not feel safe in. But anyways, yeah, it's a good economy. No, it's actually easier if you're older. I think it's easier when you're retired, because you get your medical taken care of. You get, your standard of living is on a baseline, on a fixed income, is much easier to deal with. So that's good news, right? And here, of course, it's connected to your success in, from your produce, right? In these days, it was essentially as farming. You can see that the emphasis here is on a lot of farming, on raising livestock. This is for a time in Israel where that was what Israel was known for, was producing those kinds of products. But again, that was not always, by the time of Jesus, for example, by the time of the temple destroyed by Romans, Israel was no longer really a farming and a goat producing country. It was really a crossroads for commerce. And that's what King Herod did when he saw Caesarea. For those who went to Caesarea, that was a commercial port. That was not for people that were farming. That was as a port for ships to do business and for there to be trade. And Israel as a crossroads was a trade place. Today, Israel's value is technology and their innovation. It's not what it used to be 50 years ago, which was oranges. Adonai will make you the head and not the tail. You will always be at the top and never at the bottom. If only you obey and faithfully observe the commandments of your God, Adonai, that I enjoin upon you, Hayom, this day, and do not deviate to the right or to the left from any of the commandments that I enjoin you upon this day, and turn to the worship of other gods. And so there you have it at the end. The end, it's not the end of the blessing. Don't turn away and worship other gods. So again, follow the rules, don't deviate, but don't follow and don't go to other gods.
We see that on the bottom.
Yes. Yes. And here the curses start. And it's essentially, we'll read it and you'll see it, but it's essentially turning everything that we just read on its head. And it's pretty bad. So again, here's where it hits you, right? Do the right thing. Don't get off the path. Don't worship other gods. But if you do not obey your God Adonai to observe faithfully all the commandments and laws which I enjoin upon you this day, all these curses shall come upon you and take effect. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the country. Cursed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. So again, it kind of has obviously flipped it, right? No. Cursed shall be your issue from the womb, and your produce from the soil, and the calving of your herd and the lambing of your flock. Cursed shall you be in your comings, and cursed shall you be in your goings. Yeah, you don't want that. Adonai will let loose against you calamity, panic, and frustration in all the enterprises you take, so that you shall soon be utterly wiped out because of your evil doing and forsaking me. So again, you can see that line, the line that again flips right here, is right here after blessed shall you be in your comings and in your goings. After this time, it is what happens now, which is war, calamity, frustration, panic. Adonai will make pestilence cling to you until putting an end to you in the land that you are entering to possess. Adonai will strike you with consumption, fever, and inflammation. Again, the note here is exact natures of these afflictions are uncertain, but that's a translation, right? With scorching heat and drought, with blight and mildew, they shall hound you until you perish. Do you have a different translation than consumption, fever, and inflammation? Glory, what does yours say?
The Lord will strike you with fever and inflammation, with scorching heat and drought.
Yeah.
Blight, mildew, which will plague you until you perish.
Yeah. Mildew's not the worst thing. I mean, I don't like mildew. I hate mildew, but of all the things that you get, it's like I left the towels in the wash machine.
They do terrible.
I know. No, I don't want to hear that. But anyways, Mary, do you have anything besides consumption, fever, and inflammation? Same thing, yeah. So that's the what? No, it's yeah. I mean, what was the second one you had after you had consumption, fever, and inflammation? What did yours was, Glory's?
Strike you with wasting disease, that was first. With blight,
No, before blight. With
drought, heat and drought.
no, before that. Strike you with, what's the first three things?
Strike you with wasting disease, with fever and inflammation.
Okay, that's it.
The wasting disease.
Yeah, which is consumption. That's the way they translated consumption.
We've
Yeah.
got scorching heat and drought.
Yeah, they got that. They got the same. What?
Yeah, great.
People chose to live there. What do you want? We chose this. Oh, man. And hound you is obviously not the translation that you have, Mary. You have pursue you until you perish. Is that what it says? Yeah. Hound you sounds,
Like,
yeah. Hound you is not a great translation with that. Hound you does. I don't understand why they did that. Well, it's not. I don't know why they did that. The word is pursue. And yours, McGlory, was what? Yeah, that's not a good one. The King James is at least closer to the intention, which is, well, I mean, hound means it's going to chase you around, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's going to be following you. It's going to be after you. It'll be after you. The skies above your head shall be copper, and earth upon you, and earth under you iron. So that's really bad because there's no rain, there's no moisture down below. You're being, again, you're under the heat. And Adonai will make the rain of your land dust, and sand shall drop on you from the sky until you are wiped out. That's a very, very powerful image. That your rain essentially becomes the dust. I mean, it's now dust. You don't have rain. You only have dust. That's what falls on you now. Adonai will put you to rout before your enemies. You shall march out against them by a single road, but flee from them by many roads, and you shall be a horror to all the kingdoms of the earth. So that's reverse. You'll go out as one and come, and you'll be fleeing like crazy. Very scary. And be a horror.
That everybody's gonna be bad with this curse. Whereas you can have some people that are good. That are following you.
That's the problem with Deuteronomy, right? No, the problem with Deuteronomy is it's collective punishment. It's collective reward and it's collective punishment. That's why we said Deuteronomy is a philosophy, is a theology that exists in the Bible that doesn't exist in all of the Bible, but it definitely exists in up until this point, which is that you are going to be rewarded and you will be punished as a group. Don't look for your reward individually, right? Now you're saying, well, why? Like, why is that even a thing? Because we've talked about this, and we talked about it again, I think, last week. You tell me in the Bible we've read so far, for those who've been reading since Genesis, for those who've read the whole Bible, you tell me where the payoff is in heaven. Doesn't say this anywhere. Doesn't say your blessing if you're good and everyone else is bad is that you get to go to heaven. Doesn't exist in Deuteronomy. Doesn't exist in the Torah all the way up until here. The reason that you do something good, if it's not just for the sake of your goodness, but if you're worried about what the payoff is for it, it's that your country, your community survives. If you don't do what's good, everyone's going to pay the price, you and everybody else you care about. Now, you can make the argument, if you're really selfish and you're not a nice person, you don't care. But you care about yourself, and you'll go down too. So you'll go down, and everything you think you care about will also be destroyed. So punishment, the reward is as a collective. That won't work after the exile. Once the people are off the land, there is no collective punishment anymore. And that's when we start to get heaven and hell. And that's when we start to get other answers in the Bible, like Job, like Ecclesiastes, that say, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know what the system is. It's beyond our knowledge. Not that there's no rule, but we just don't know it. We don't know what the payoff is anymore because it's not the collective thing anymore. So the Jews who lived during the Second Temple period didn't think that they were going to be paid off or punished as a group. Even they did get punished as a group, they didn't necessarily see it as collective punishment for screwing up.
Not everybody that.
They also, correct, they didn't believe that and from what we know, they weren't worshiping idols, which at least as a collective, you could say, well, they were all worshiping idols. They weren't. They also didn't believe it anymore. They didn't believe in collective punishment anymore. So we saw that in the book of Ezekiel. For those who are reading with us on Tuesday, when Ezekiel starts telling us you're not going to be punished for the sins of your father, we're starting to see, oh, I guess there's no collective punishment anymore. Because collective punishment, as you've seen, builds up over time. In the book of Kings, you know, the famous scene where King Hezekiah says, oh, you mean you're not punishing me? Good. At least I don't have to deal with it. That's a sick idea, but it is an idea that kept the Jews in line, or not, didn't keep them in line, but should have kept them in line for 400 years, which is we're going to go down together if we don't follow the rules. And where does it come from? It comes from here. It comes from the book of Deuteronomy. It comes from people saying, we better follow the rules because otherwise we're all doomed. So these are pretty tough. They haven't gotten bad yet. I just want you to know that. They're about to get bad. The ones you've seen so far, that's bad, but it's not this. Your carcasses shall be food for all the birds of the sky and all the beasts of the earth, with none to frighten them off. That's the way you will be taken away, your bodies. Adonai will strike you with the Egyptian inflammation, with hemorrhoids, with boil scars, and itch, from which you shall never recover. Adonai will strike you with madness, blindness, and dismay. Translation here is going to say numbness of heart. Yeah. We're not exactly sure what that means. Is that what your translation says, Mary? Numbness? Astonishment of heart. Yeah. What about you, Glory? It's Vit Mahon, it's 28. Yeah.
With madness, blindness, confusion of mind.
Confusion of mind. See, there they didn't even translate lev as heart. They translate it as mind because again, it's kind of both. Yeah, it's some kind of confusion or mental. It's not. None of these are good. But this is some kind of. I mean, we look at these though. I mean, these are ones where you know, these are words you should know. You should know these words. You don't want these. You don't want this. You don't want Harris. That's hemorrhoids, right? Or Gareb. You don't want those things. And the Shechin Mitzrayim. Well, we remember the Shechin. Every time we take out a little bit of our cup, right? We say Shechin, right? Right? We say Dam, Svardea, Kinim, Arav, right? Shechin, some kind of boil and some kind of Egyptian inflammation. Remember that? And there it even says that same Shechin the Egyptians had that we got, that they got, we're going to get it. And again, also, you know, these things are affecting your body. They're affecting your mind. Affecting your mind, right? They affect your mind, your psychological well-being too. Blindness, we assume, means blindness, which they probably connected to not just losing your eyesight, you know, with your degeneration or something, but with your almost like, you know, mental, you know, where you literally become blind and can't see because of your mind. The word bishgayon is where the word meshuggah comes from, right? Meshuggah means crazy, but it's literally a kind of madness, right? This is not good.
Is that the last word in 28?
Yes. The last word is, they translated dismay, is dismay. That's bit mahon levav, which is lev. This is madness. That one's for sure madness. And ivaron is 100% blindness. That's the word for not being able to see. But the last one is, and again, it could be someone that becomes blind in fear. But those are definitely, these are physical and these are more mental. or in your mind. You shall grope at noon as the blind grope in the dark. And there's this kind of, again, this concept that the blindness is not just like visual impairment, right? You shall grope at noon as the blind grope in the dark. I mean, blind already can't see, but the blind really can't see in the dark. I mean, that's like, even if you had a little sight, it's the blind person at night, at dark, in darkness. You shall not prosper in your ventures, but you shall be constantly abused and robbed with none to give help. If you pay the bride price for her wife, another man shall enjoy her. If you build a house, you shall not live in it. If you plant a vineyard, you shall not harvest it. So again, here's the note's going to say,
No winning.
yeah, it's the list of things that people get to do when they put the effort into something. They're supposed to be able to enjoy it. No, none of these things that you count on having, you'll have. Your ox shall be slaughtered before your eyes, but you shall not eat of it. Your ass shall be seized in front of you, and it shall not be returned to you. Your flock shall be delivered to your enemies with none to help you. Your sons and your daughters shall be delivered to another people while you look on, and your eyes shall strain for them constantly, but you shall be helpless. Yeah. That's a tough one to read right now. A people you do not know shall eat up the produce of your soil and all your gains. You shall be abused and downtrodden continually, and until you are driven mad by what your eyes behold. And that is what it says. V'haita meshuga. That's the word right there. Meshuga. You'll be driven crazy by what you see. Also not easy to read right now. That line in particular. Adonai will afflict you at the knees and thighs with severe inflammation, from which you shall never recover, from the sole of your foot to the crown of your head. Adonai will drive you and the king you have set over you to a nation unknown to you or your ancestors, where you shall serve other gods of wood and stone. Well, let's just pause that up for a second right now, because that line, that's too specific. That's too specific and very, very interesting, because where do we know that we are? Well, we're told in Deuteronomy, if you have a king, he's supposed to have the Torah. But this is very clear that you have a king, and your king is going to be driven out of the country too. Now, we know that happened. That happened during the time of King Zedekiah. Right? So this definitely happened. Now, the question is, was this a prophecy, or was it a reflection of everything that happened to them? This last one, if none of the other things were there, we might have said it's a warning. This one seems really specifically and just stated matter-of-factly that this is what's going to happen. And that's why some people feel that this was written exactly as it's happening, as an explanation for what's happening, more importantly. Because you've broken all the rules, this is now happening to you. And specifically, again, to a nation unknown to you or your ancestors, where you shall serve other gods. So you've been serving other gods in Israel, but now you're going to have to go back to this country, this other country, and serve there. So when the Jews were exiled to Babylonia, that's exactly what they did. And part of what we read about in that part of the Bible that deals with the Jews living in Babylonia is we read the story of Daniel and his friends that are forced to worship other gods. Of course, it turns out that God spares them from this stuff because they're righteous people. But This is what they had to do. This is what most of the people that survived had to do. So the 10 lost tribes, the tribes in the north, we don't really know what happened to them. They seem to have disappeared. They seem to have assimilated into the places that they got taken. We don't know. There's people who say they're descendants of those lost tribes, but we don't have any evidence that there are. But the Ethiopians claim they were the descendants of those tribes. There's people as far away as India who claim to be descendants of those tribes. We don't know. We know that the Judeans who were driven into exile came back. But that's us. You shall be a consternation, a proverb, a byword among all the peoples to which Adonai will drive you. So you're going to become famous as a lesson to those countries. They will talk about you when you're in exile. Though you take much seed out to the field, you shall gather in little, for the locusts shall consume it. Though you plant vineyards and till them, you shall have no wine to drink or store, for the worm shall devour them. I mean, like, this is not, we're not even done yet. Though you have olive trees throughout your territory, you shall have no oil for anointment, for your olive shall drop off. Though you beget sons and daughters, they shall not remain with you, for they shall go into captivity. The cricket shall take over all the trees and produce of your land, like the locust. The strangers in your midst shall rise above you higher and higher, while you sink lower and lower. They shall be your creditors, and you shall not be theirs. They shall be the head, and you the tail. All these curses shall befall you. They shall pursue you and overtake you until you are wiped out, because you did not heed your God Adonai and keep the commandments and laws that were enjoined upon you. Let me just tell you. So that's verse 45. The curses started at 15, right? That's 15. The blessings went on for kind of start here, verse 2. Well, really, verse 3 is the first blessing. So the blessings go from verse 3 to verse 14. That's 11 verses. The curses start in 15 and go all the way to 45.
Oh, boy.
You see what I'm saying? You don't have to be really good at math to see now. It's not really over yet. That's verse 45. Look at verse 46 and what happens here. They shall serve as signs and proofs against you and your offspring for all time, because you would not serve your God Adonai in joy and gladness over the abundance of everything. So, well, let me.
For all time, does that mean forever?
Yeah. Well, hold it a second. So it does say forever, right? Ad olam. It says forever. These will serve as signs and proofs against you. So when these things happen to you, they will be a proof that you broke the rules. Now, just keep that in mind. Yes, you're absolutely right, Joyce. That's what it says, forever. The signs, these things that happen to you, these curses are a proof. Because you would not serve your God Adonai in joy and gladness over the abundance of everything, you shall have to serve in hunger and thirst, naked and lacking everything. The enemies whom Adonai will let loose against you, God will put an iron yoke upon your neck until you are wiped out. So the blessings kind of ended here. but they didn't really end because he's still telling them this is how bad it's going to be. Right? Adonai will bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, which will swoop down like the eagle. There you go, Mike. A nation whose language you do not understand, a ruthless nation that will show the influential no regard and the vulnerable no mercy. No, that's not a nice one.
No.
But the Babylonians are compared to the eagle. So, well, they're basically telling you in this line, which is a very powerful line, that it's a little different translation. This is a less literal translation. It's more of a commentary than a translation. Because Mary, what does your translation say for 50?
Shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
That's a totally different translation. That's a literal translation. Gloria, what does yours say?
Fierce looking nation without respect for the old or pity for the young.
Yeah,
Mm.
much different translation. So this translation is interesting from the standpoint of capturing a nuance, but I think it's almost more of a commentary. The word zaken is an elder, which is why they translate it as influential. Even though, interestingly, in our society, we don't consider the old influential.
Mhm.
Have you seen an influencer that's under 30? We actually use that word, an influencer. Yeah, I understand, but you know what I'm saying. Most influencers, you're not even close to being an influencer by age, right? Our influence, I understand, but you understand the translation. It's based on age. And it's a very powerful phrase in its Hebrew, which has those connotations. And so that's why the translators are really stuck. Do we translate it literally, or do we translate with the intention of what this person was saying, which is very close to what this translation is, which is they don't care about your influence. They don't care about your age, and they also don't care about the kids, right? The translation's even crazier to some extent, because again, Mary, what's your translation? The last part, show the aged,
I shall not regard the person of the old, or show favor to the young.
that's one translation. And Glory's was?
Without respect for the old or pity for the young.
That's a tough line to read right now. Especially if you translate it as no regard for the elderly or no pity for the young. Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. We read the, but all good sounds good. And then he's coming back and saying, but if you don't follow these, this is what's gonna happen. So they're trying to scare the crap out of
No question. Which is why there's
you.
40 verses of scaries and 10 verses of good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. You said it. So yes, people respond to fear much better than they respond to the gold star. Is that what you're telling me? The teacher that gives them the gold star, the teacher that scares the hell out of them. So yes, there's something to be said for that. Well, it didn't work, though I do want to say, in all fairness, if this was actually written when it was too late, it's a last warning, if you will. And that's what we believe. That during the time of King Josiah, when they had a king, and seems to be a foregone conclusion that they have a king, and things are going crazy, and they know that they're going crazy, and they know the Assyrians have already destroyed the north. They've already seen it. And they know that it's very imminent that the kingdom of Judah is going to be destroyed, that this is a last warning to the people. Get your act together. Because this is going to happen, or is happening, or it's in the process of happening. So therefore, it doesn't work, but some people would say, that's a little too late by then. Anyways, Babylonians don't care what age you are. They don't care, again, to some extent, how powerful you are or how vulnerable you are. It shall devour the offspring of your cattle and the produce of your soil until you've been wiped out, leaving you nothing of new grain, wine, or oil, or the calving of your herds and the lambing of your flocks, until it has brought you to ruin. It shall shut you up in all your towns throughout your land, until every mighty towering wall in which you trust has come down. And when you are shut up in all your towns throughout your land that your God Adonai has assigned you, you shall eat your own issue, the flesh of your sons and daughters that your God Adonai has assigned to you, because of the desperate straits to which your enemies shall reduce you. And that is what happened according to the book of Lamentations. It's exactly what happened during the time of Jeremiah. So that's why Deuteronomy, Jeremiah, and the book of Lamentations are all connected. And some people say hands, the product of similar hands, if not the same hands. They talk about exactly what happened. The householder who is most tender and fastidious among you shall be too mean to his brother and the wife of his bosom and the children he has spared, to share with any of them the flesh of the children that he eats, because he has nothing else left as a result of the desperate straits to which your enemy shall reduce you in your towns. That's how bad it's going to be. I said it gets worse. And she who is most tender and dainty among you, so tender and dainty that she would never venture to set foot on the ground, shall begrudge the husband of her bosom and her son and her daughter, the afterbirth that issues between her legs, and the baby she bears, and shall eat them secretly because of utter want in the desperate straits to which your enemies shall reduce you in your towns. One of the more, if not the most,
Pretty
graphic and really disconcerting images that we have in the entire Bible. It doesn't get really much worse than that in the whole Bible, folks. It's terrible. Though I will tell you, it's very strange, because you read this in the Bible and you're like, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. But you know what? You know what's become popular in the last 20 years? People eating their placenta.
No.
Glory, am I making it up? I'm not making it up.
What do you explain to
I'm not making it up.
that have this as their?
What if this isn't their Torah portion? It's Kitavo. We read the first part. We read the first part. No, I mean, yeah, I would never encourage the kid and sit there with them and make them read this. I mean, even if I start with them at the beginning, I'm gonna take them through the first 30 verses of this. I mean, it gets worse and worse. I mean, by the time you get, I'm like, look, I'm not gonna ruin it for you. We're almost done, and we're almost done with class, but it's a long chapter, 69 verses. What? Yeah, it was Philip's Torah portion. So Philip, I maybe I would read it with him now, but I wouldn't have read it with him when he was a kid, when he was 13. So, I mean, this is literally this verse. These two verses are one of the worst things you could possibly imagine. It's in the Bible, but it's not something I want to read with a kid. That's why the Bible is not for kids. I mean, this is one of the most gruesome things you can think of. Not Deuteronomy. I hope she didn't start with Deuteronomy. Okay, good. From Genesis. There you go. If you fail to observe, yes, it has Noah and it's got some other stuff. Yeah. Yes. Yes, but it's not this. This is horrible. This is horrible. And it's really tough. It's tough to read. Yeah, technically speaking, as we've said, Philip had, he had this, and Sam had, he had the laws he had the laws in Achrei Mot, which deal with who you're not allowed to have sex with. So there's a lot of stuff in the Bible that you had kids that actually had both of those portions. Well, it's not who you're thinking, John. Go back and read it. So if you faithfully observe all the terms of this teaching that are written in this book to reverence and honor this honored and awesome name, your God, Adonai will inflict extraordinary plagues upon you and your offspring, strange and lasting plagues, malignant and chronic diseases, bringing back all the sicknesses of Egypt that you dreaded so, they'll cling to you. Moreover, Adonai will bring on you the other diseases and plagues that are not mentioned in the book of teaching until you are wiped out. So there's other things that we don't even know about, right? We haven't even gotten to them yet. There's things that we haven't even imagined yet that you're going to get. And you shall be left a scant few after having been as numerous as the stars in the skies, because you did not heed the command of your God Adonai. And as Adonai once delighted in making you prosperous in many, so will Adonai now delight in causing you to perish and in wiping you out. You shall be torn from the land that you are about to enter and possess. So again, the Bible here reminds you that and again, the way that, even if this was imagined, this was the warning that the people had before they stepped foot in the land, that all of this can get taken away from you. All of this stuff that you're getting, it's not forever unless you follow the rules. And again, even if it was written after the fact or when this was happening, think about it. This understanding was, you're being punished for your behavior. You're not being punished because, these other people deserve to have your land. You're being punished because you don't deserve to have the land. That's a big difference, by the way, folks. In the ancient world, generally speaking, when another country conquered you, you became part of that country. You started worshiping their gods, and you saw it as, well, they must be more powerful than us. Jews were the first people to really say, oh, God must be mad at us, and we better fix it, because God wouldn't always hate us. God wouldn't always be mad at us. And again, delight in causing us to perish. It's almost, again, I don't know if that's the best translation, but it's flipping it, which is God delights in making us prosperous, so he would also delight in not. It's not a great image that God is rejoicing in us being punished, but.
And it's hard to imagine God having delight in when the Holocaust.
Yeah, I think, I'll just show you just quickly
Difficult.
yeah. So, so the commentary on this is, let me just see if this is something we can do quickly. If it says right here, this is all from the Talmud. Let me just see. I haven't got to it yet. No, I don't see it. I don't see it. It says it's on 10b. Hold it. Let me go a little bit further. See if it's here. Oh, here it is. Here's the question. So Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, right, asks, does the Holy One, blessed be he, in fact rejoice over the downfall of the wicked? Right? Does God actually rejoice? So they're saying, well, it has to do with what's written elsewhere in the book of Chronicles. So it says, the Holy One, blessed be he, does not rejoice over the downfall of the wicked. And similar, Rabbi Yochanan said, what does it mean that one cannot, here it is right here. Let me show you this very famous teaching. You might have heard it before. God does not rejoice over the downfall of the wicked. God does not rejoice, but does cause others to rejoice. right? So other people or other nations would rejoice. Let me just see if it's here. Nope. So let me just see. It's kind of alluded to here. Here it is right here. So when it says right here in Exodus, it says, the angels of God wanted to sing when Israel crossed the Red Sea and the Egyptians died. And God said to them, to the angels, do not sing. The work of my hands, the Egyptians are drowning right now. You don't sing. To the angels, which of course is the Jewish teaching that we don't sing when those who are our enemies, who deserve to be destroyed, are dying, because God doesn't do that. God doesn't rejoice. God has other people rejoice, but the rabbis didn't like the idea that God rejoices. And that's why they taught that little midrash that God didn't even celebrate when the Egyptians was destroyed. It's an interesting idea. So by the rabbinic period, the rabbis had to come up with an idea that God doesn't rejoice, but other people rejoice. And the people that rejoice when you're suffering, when Israel's suffering, will get theirs. So from that, we learn, of course, that Jews don't celebrate when even our enemies are suffering. So when our enemies are being rained down upon, we don't celebrate. And that, by the way, is the most relevant thing that we can read tonight. And what I
Singing in the streets and having, they were dancing in the streets.
when 9/11 happened, when October 7th happened. Yeah, I know. I know it happened at 9/11. Doreen, it happened a month ago. No. But a month ago, when 1,400 Jews were murdered, they were passing out candy. Yeah. Yeah, I understand, but it didn't happen 20 years ago. It happened 1 month ago. It happened when Jewish kids were murdered, that Arab streets were filled with people getting candy and singing.
Right.
So what I didn't say at the meeting yesterday was, because I wasn't asked the question and I wasn't really given an opportunity to say it, which is, look, the moral equivalency, which really hurts us, is that in our synagogue last week, we didn't sing and dance that the Arabs are being killed in Gaza. We didn't pass out candy in our synagogue. We prayed for peace and hoped that they wouldn't die, that innocent civilians wouldn't die. And that is a difference. Because I know what didn't happen in our synagogue.
Right.
We didn't pass out candy. We didn't tell the kids to celebrate because Palestinians died today. That I know didn't happen.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things we take away about delighting in perishing. So if this is hyperbole, the rabbis definitely understood it in a different way. Well, let's just finish with these last verses as we finish up. I will scatter you among all the peoples from one end of the earth to the other. And there you shall serve other gods, wood and stone, whom neither you nor your ancestors ever experienced. Yet even among those nations you shall find no peace, nor shall your foot find a place to rest. Adonai will give you there an anguished heart and eyes that pine and a despondent spirit. The life you face shall be precarious, and you shall be in terror night and day, with no assurance of survival. In the morning you shall say, if only it were evening. And in the evening you shall say, if only it were morning, because of what your heart shall dread and your eyes shall see. Adonai will send you back in Egypt in galleys by a route which I told you shall not see again. There you shall offer yourselves for sale to your enemies as male and female slaves, but none will buy. These are the terms of the covenant which Adonai commanded Moses to conclude with the Israelites in the land of Moab, in addition to the covenant which he made with them at Horeb, at Mount Sinai. So this is a covenant The blessing and curses are given to the people, and this is like a covenant. So in addition to the laws, to the teaching that they got this as well. And according to this, it's like being at Mount Sinai. These laws that they got at the beginning that we read in chapter 27, and then these blessings and curses. So what we're going to get into now in chapter 29 is the last part of Deuteronomy. The last few chapters we'll be reading in the next few weeks. And this is Moses' last words to the people. So from chapter 29, 30 and 31, as we read through Parshat Nitzavim, which we start next week, we're going to read a few verses, chapter 29, and then it gets into this. You'll see when we read next week, we'll see why we break it here, and Christian commentators and scholars broke it here. It's a very long chapter. 69 verses is like the second longest chapter in the entire Bible we just read. And God willing, I'll be back here this time next week, and same time, and we'll be finishing up the last few weeks, the book of Deuteronomy. Yeah, I will announce it when I get back from Israel. And I will tell you, please, again, just pray for the safety of Israel, pray for my return. And I promise I won't needlessly put myself in harm's way. But, it's definitely not the safest trip I've taken before. But it's not the first time I've gone to Israel during difficult times, because I went during the second Intifada as well, 20 years ago. So this is similar to that in a little bit of a way. It's not full, but it's pretty close to full. It's not empty, that's for sure. It looked pretty full. All right, folks, we'll see you next week, God willing. Take care. Take care, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. You
Bye,
take
guys.
care too.
All right, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Safe travels, Rabbi.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything, guys. Take care.
Be safe.
I will. I'll try.